There's a currency war going on, and this is a global power shift. China is buying gold, BRICS is building a new payment system, and the US debt is exploding like never before. Now, if the dollar loses its crown, what happens to your savings, your investments, and your country? Now, this isn't fear mongering. This is history repeating itself. In today's class, I'm going to take my time to break it down. Now, but I have a question for you. Is the dollar crashing? If you answer yes, you're correct. If you say no, I probably don't know which part of the world you're living in. Now, but I'm going to take my time to explain the dollar crash today and what it means for us Nigerians. Now, when we say the dollar is weak, what exactly do we mean? The US dollar is losing value when compared to other major currencies like the euro, the pound, the yen, and of course, make we add our own Naira join. Now, but all of these can be determined by the US index. US index is a metric that shows us the correlation between the US dollar and other asset classes, euro, pounds, dollar, and the likes. So if the USD index is pushing upward, it means that the US dollar will gain strength. Now, but if the US index is moving downward, it means that the US dollar is what? Gradually weakening. So the US index is like a scorecard. And this is exactly what's happening right now. The US dollar is going down because the US index is going down as well. Now, but for us here in Nigeria, this is not just a chart. It's about the interaction with our economy. How much we pay for petrol, diesel, gas, phones, electronics, what it costs to study abroad, and of course, the willingness of foreign investors to want to come in to invest in Nigeria. So, so why is the dollar falling right now? I'm going to run us through four major reasons why the dollar is gradually weakening, falling, or may potentially crash. Now, in the past 2 years, the US as a nation has raised interest rates to fight and curb inflation. All of that very activity has made investors more or less like long throat rush into US assets like bonds, treasuries, and it has boosted US dollar. But right now, inflation is biting everyone in the US. The Fed is no longer increasing rates. In fact, as we speak and as this class is going on, they are planning to cut and reduce it. So what this means is a lower interest rate is equal to a lower returns. Lower interest rate brings lower return and there will be little or no reason to invest in the US. And this means less demand for the US dollar. So the second reason for this is Americans' rising debt. US debt is going out of control. It dey go gaga, like gaga. Now, right now, the US is sitting on over 34. This money they had me to call. Kai. Now, the US is sitting on over $34 trillion in national debt. Now, they've kept on borrowing, of course, to fund government spending, and investors are getting nervous, they are getting worried, and some are panicking. So, the confidence in the US economy is gradually waning. So, foreign investors, they, most of them have started pulling out their funds out of the US market, and they're looking for safe and alternative options. Of course, gold, crypto. Now, what this implies is every capital outflow results in a reduced demand for the dollar, which also further weakens the US dollar. Before I talk about my point number three, if you are enjoying this video and you are not yet subscribed, please kindly click like, click share, click subscribe so you can get more of this. Now, The third point for this is most of the countries are planning to ditch the dollar. Big countries like China, Russia, Brazil, India, and of course, our own very Nigeria. They're looking for ways to trade in local currencies instead of always using the US dollar. Now, this global shift is what they call dollar de-dollarization, de-dollarization of the dollar. So most of these countries now, it never matured yet. It's still in the pipeline. But most of these countries they start establishing relationship with each other to enable trade amongst themselves. Nigeria, for instance, has already started exploring the yuan denominated oil deals and is increasing trade relationship with other countries outside the Western system. Now, as more and more of these world trades occur in non-dollar currencies, the demand for the US dollar would fall, and so does its value. Now, this is the fourth point. The US economy is slowing down. Now, there are signs of this sluggish growth in the US, weak data job, um, lower consumer demands, and fears of a coming recession. Now, when growth is sluggish, investors' confidence will shake like person when they on top water. Now, when this confidence drop, money starts leaving the US. Now, that capital that is leaving the US will look for other opportunities elsewhere because investors are after their interest. And again, this would mean a less demand for the US dollar. So, let me tell you, how does this affect you as a Nigerian? So, I'm going to take you through the positive effects and then the negative effects. Now, for the positive effects, how it concerns you as a Nigerian is one, cheaper imports. The thing is, imports may get cheaper in the long run if the dollar weakens and the naira strengthens slightly or maybe stabilize. Now, note my choice of word. It could help reduce the cost of imported goods, your fuel, electronics, machinery, and the likes. Remember, I said could because this is Nigeria. But let's be honest, naira weakness and inflation, I have to cancel this particular benefit unless CBN takes advantage, and of course, our prayer for CBN works. Otherwise, jackpot. Now, yes, how it concerns us on a positive aspect. There will be more foreign investment. Be more foreign investment. Now, what this implies is investors are pulling out of the US and they are looking for the next frontiers. They are looking out for more opportunities. Like I told you, I said they are after their interest. It could be Nigeria, it could be another African country. If it's Nigeria, it will flow into the Nigerian stock market, into the Nigerian real estate, into the Nigerian tech startup, agriculture, and the likes. And if it is flowing into the Nigerian economy, it would increase our foreign reserve, create jobs, to boost the stock market as well. Now, if we make the right move, we could attract big money. So that's to start with the pray. Now, this is the third point. Lower tuition abroad fee if the dollar weakens. If the dollar falls and you are paying for school in the US, Canada, or the UK, the total cost in Naira may reduce slightly, especially if you are holding on to pounds or euro. Now, this is not a big miracle, but of course, every savings counts. Okay, so make I take una go the negative aspect for us as a Nigerian. Lower export revenue from oil, gas, because they are priced in USD. Now you know Nigeria exports gas, oil, raw materials, and most of it is priced in US dollar. So when the dollar weakens, the value of those exported materials and the export earnings they drop because when they are converted to naira, even when we are selling the same amount, it will not be the same. So when the dollar weakens, we earn less in naira So what that implies is there is less revenue for the government and they go use am as excuse to borrow. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Abi how dem dey talk am. Now this is the point two for the negative aspects. If the naira ever gains strength, una dey pray o, and the dollar weakens, Nigerian companies that export and get paid in dollars may lose revenue when they convert back to their naira, which reduces their margin and of course will create a lot of job cuts in those industries that are tied to these dollar-based businesses. Okay, as all of these things dey happen, how you go take use this particular information take benefit yourself? What are you gonna do with this information? What should you do with this information? Number one, you will need to diversify your savings. Not put all of your eggs in one basket. That's an old quote that we've all been taught and mantra that we've all been taught in time past. Don't put all of your eggs, don't put all of your money in naira or dollar assets. Consider other currencies, consider other commodities, gold, stock. Then invest in real assets. Watch global interest rates because if the Fed if they start to dey cut rate now, it is a sign that money will flow back, would rotate, would reverse into emerging markets. And of course, it's going to be a good time to start investing locally, invest in real assets. Look out for companies that benefit from these increased global capital, these imported cheaper goods, and purchasing power, like Prisco, Okumu Oil, right? They are real assets. Then, lastly, consider timing your FS. You know, when you send your pikin go abroad or you dey import goods, you will need a better exchange rate. If the dollar keeps weakening or e start to just dey decline, dey decline, dey decline, you have to be watching carefully so you will not be caught in this crossfire. So as the dollar begins to crash, it's not just Americans' problem, na problem for everybody. And it's an opportunity for every investors that are in alignment with the market. Now the question is, are you positioned or are you positioning yourself? Or you're just watching headlines? CNN. So now that's left for you to answer. If you found this video to be helpful, please click the like, smash the share, and don't forget to subscribe. Until we see again in the next class, keep being profitable.